Welcome, my friend. Today you will listen to a simple English story, but this story is not only for learning words or grammar, it is a story about life, about success, and about one secret habit that can change everything. As you listen, you will learn English through emotions, through hope, struggle, and small daily choices. Let's begin with a question. Have you ever felt tired of trying? You study, you work, you dream, but still you feel stuck. You see other people move forward while you stay in the same place. You tell yourself, maybe I am not lucky, maybe I am not smart. And slowly you start to believe that success is only for others. Many people feel this way. They wake up each morning, hurry to school or work, and return home feeling empty. They scroll through their phones, see happy faces, rich people, confident speakers, and they whisper inside, "Why not me?" They work hard, yet nothing seems to change. This is the pain of millions of people around the world. They are not lazy, they are not bad. They simply don't know what they are missing. They do everything they are told to do. Study more, work more, try harder, but still, something feels wrong. Now imagine a young man named Daniel. He is 25 years old. Every morning he wakes up late. He feels tired before the day even begins. On his way to work, he listens to loud music to forget his thoughts. He dreams of a better life but doesn't know where to start. At night, Daniel watches videos of successful people. He sees them smiling, traveling, speaking with power. He feels both inspired and sad. He asks himself again and again, why can't I be like them? I try so much, but nothing works. This is where our story begins with Daniel's quiet pain, the same pain many of us carry, the pain of doing a lot but going nowhere. You see, most people think success is about talent or luck. Some believe it's about being born in the right family or having the right connections. But that's not true. The truth is smaller, simpler, and much more powerful. There is something that all successful people do, something that gives them calm, focus, and direction. It is not a big secret locked in a book. It is something they practice every single day, a small habit that builds a strong mind. Before we talk about that secret, let's understand the real problem. The world today is loud. We wake up and see hundreds of messages, videos, and noises. Our mind becomes full before the day even starts. We run fast, but we don't know where we're going. Daniel lived like this too. Every day felt like the same circle. Wake up, work, get tired, sleep, repeat. He was busy but not growing. He wanted change, but he didn't know how to begin. Then one morning, something different happened. Daniel met a man who would change his life. A man who seemed calm in a noisy world, peaceful in a busy city. This man smiled often, spoke slowly, and never seemed in a rush. People respected him, not because he was rich, but because he was centered, like a quiet mountain in a storm. Daniel wanted to know his secret. How can someone be so calm and confident when life is so hard? He wondered, what does he do that I don't? When Daniel asked, the man smiled again and said softly, it's not what I do once. It's what I do every day. This sentence stayed in Daniel's mind all day. Every day? What could be so small yet so powerful? He couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, as Daniel sat alone in his small apartment, he looked around. His phone buzzed. His laptop screen glowed. The room was noisy even in silence. He realized maybe the reason he was stuck wasn't because he didn't work enough. Maybe it was because he never stopped to think. We often believe success comes from action, doing, doing, doing. But sometimes success begins with stillness, with one small habit that changes how we think, how we feel, and how we live. This story is about that habit, the secret habit of successful people. It is not about money or luck. It's about a daily moment of clarity, a moment of calm that builds a strong mind. As you listen, you will learn not only English words, but also lessons for your life. You will see how Daniel's days slowly change, from confusion to focus, from stress to peace. You will discover that success is not far away. It begins inside you, one small step at a time. So, stay with me. Listen closely. Feel the story. Because by the end, you may see that the difference between you and the people you admire is not as big as you think. Sometimes the biggest change starts with something very small, something you can start today in your own room with no money, no help, and no fear. Daniel doesn't know it yet, but his life is about to change. His days of confusion will soon turn into mornings of power and peace, and it all begins with one meeting, one moment that opens his eyes to a new way of living. This is where our journey truly begins, with the ordinary morning. Chapter 1: The Ordinary Morning. Welcome back, my friend. In this part of the story, you will learn simple English through Daniel's daily life, and maybe you will see a little part of yourself in him. This story is not about a hero. It's about an ordinary person who wants to change but doesn't know how. The sun rises slowly through the thin curtains of Daniel's small room. His alarm rings again and again, but he doesn't move. His bed feels heavy, not because of the blanket, but because of his tired mind. When he finally opens his eyes, it's already late. The world outside has already begun, but Daniel is still stuck in the same morning. He grabs his phone. Messages, notifications, videos, news. He scrolls, 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 not because he wants to, but because it's easy. His eyes move, but his heart feels empty. 10 minutes become 30, 30 becomes 60. He suddenly realizes the time and jumps up. "I'm late again," he whispers. Daniel rushes through his morning. He brushes his teeth quickly, puts on the same shirt, skips breakfast, and runs to the bus stop. On the bus, he looks out of the window. The city is busy. People walk fast. Cars honk. Everyone seems to be going somewhere important. Daniel wonders, where am I going? He works in a small office. His job is simple: typing reports, answering calls, following orders. It's not bad, but it's not what he dreams of. As he sits at his desk, he feels invisible. His eyes move to the clock again and again. Each hour feels like a stone slowly falling. During lunch, his coworkers talk and laugh. Daniel smiles but doesn't really listen. He feels something missing: a light, a reason, a spark. He once wanted to build something big, to travel, to speak English fluently, to help his family. But now those dreams feel far away, like stars he can't touch. When the workday ends, Daniel walks home. The streets are loud, but his mind is quiet, too quiet. Inside, he hears a small voice. Is this it? Is this my life? At home, he turns on the TV. He eats fast food, scrolls through his phone again, and tells himself, tomorrow I will do better. But tomorrow comes, and the same story repeats. Late mornings, rushed hours, empty nights. These are Daniel's ordinary mornings, the same days that millions of people live. He doesn't know that time is his most powerful gift, and he is wasting it drop by drop. He dreams of success, but he doesn't see that success begins in the small hours, in the first quiet moment of each morning. Sometimes he remembers his childhood. Back then, he believed he could do anything. He wanted to be a writer or maybe a teacher. He used to draw pictures of the future: a house, a happy family, a strong body, a kind smile. But now those pictures are hidden under work papers and tired thoughts. At night, Daniel looks at his reflection in the mirror. Why am I always tired? He asks himself. I'm not old. I'm not sick. So why do I feel heavy every morning? He doesn't know that the answer is simple. He is living without direction. He is moving without purpose. He is busy but not awake. One Sunday morning, something changes. Daniel wakes up early by accident. His phone battery died during the night, so the alarm never rang. The room is quiet. No noise, no rush, no messages. Only the soft sound of birds outside the window. He sits on the bed, confused. For the first time in a long time, he is not in a hurry. He looks around his room, the half-read books, the dusty guitar, the notebook he once used to write goals. He feels a strange peace mixed with sadness. What happened to me? He wonders. He decides to take a short walk. The air is cool. The streets are still empty. As he walks, he sees a small cafe on the corner. Inside, a man sits alone by the window reading a notebook and drinking tea. The man's face is calm, like he has no worries at all. Daniel stops for a moment. Something about that man feels different. Every few seconds, the man writes something in the notebook. His movements are slow and peaceful. He doesn't touch his phone. He just sits there, thinking, breathing, smiling. Daniel feels curious. He walks inside and orders coffee. He sits 2 tables away, pretending to look at his phone, but really he's watching. The man seems to live in another world, quiet, clear, strong. After a few minutes, Daniel can't stop himself. He smiles and says, "Good morning. You seem very calm. Don't you have work today?" The man looks up and smiles gently. "I do," he says, "but I start my day slowly. I need a calm mind before I face a busy world." Daniel laughs softly. "I wish I could do that. My mornings are always a mess." The man nods. Most people start the day in a hurry. But if the morning is lost, the whole day is lost. That sentence touches Daniel deeply. If the morning is lost, the whole day is lost. He repeats it in his head again and again. The man continues, "I wasn't always like this. I used to live like you, rushing, worrying, tired. But one small habit changed everything." Daniel's eyes widen. "A habit?" The man smiles again. "Yes, a secret habit. Something I do every morning before I speak to anyone." Daniel feels a spark inside. For the first time in months, he feels curious, alive. "Can you tell me what it is?" he asks. The man closes his notebook and says, "Maybe later. For now, just remember, success doesn't start with big dreams. It starts with small mornings." Daniel nods slowly, thinking about those words. As he leaves the cafe, the air feels different. The city looks the same, but his heart feels lighter. He doesn't know it yet, but this short meeting will begin the biggest change of his life. That night, Daniel lies in bed, eyes open, thinking about the man's calm face and simple words. He doesn't know what the secret habit is yet, but tomorrow he plans to wake up earlier. And when the morning comes, his new journey will begin with the unexpected mentor. Chapter 2: The Unexpected Mentor. Welcome back, my friend. In this part of the story, you will learn English through conversation, a meeting between Daniel and a man who will soon become his mentor. As you listen, notice the simple words and the powerful message. Real change begins not in one big moment, but in small daily actions. The next morning, Daniel wakes up earlier than usual. The sky is still gray and the city feels quiet. For the first time in a long time, he feels calm. He remembers the man from the cafe, his soft voice, his peaceful eyes. Something inside Daniel tells him to go back there. He walks to the cafe. The doorbell rings as he enters, and there he is again. The same man, sitting by the window with a notebook and a cup of tea. Daniel smiles shyly and walks closer. "Good morning," Daniel says. The man looks up and smiles warmly. "Ah, the young man from yesterday. You came back." "Yes," Daniel says. "I hope it's okay. I just wanted to talk more. You said something yesterday, that success doesn't start with big dreams but with small mornings. I keep thinking about that." The man closes his notebook and gestures for Daniel to sit. "Of course. Sit with me. My name is Mr. Lee." "I'm Daniel," he says, shaking his hand. Mr. Lee nods. "So Daniel, tell me, why do you think your mornings are always a mess?" Daniel laughs softly. "Because I'm lazy, maybe. Or because I don't have energy." Mr. Lee smiles gently. "No, you're not lazy. You're just living without rhythm. A person without rhythm wakes up tired because their mind is full of noise." Daniel looks down, thinking. That sounds true. Every morning I wake up, check my phone, and already feel behind. I don't know what I'm doing, but I keep running. Mr. Lee takes a slow sip of tea. "I know that feeling." "Because I used to live exactly like that?" Daniel looks up, surprised. "You? But you seem peaceful." Mr. Lee chuckles softly. "Now, yes. But years ago I was full of stress. I worked 12 hours a day. I wanted money, power, success. I thought if I worked harder, I would find peace. But the more I worked, the emptier I felt. I was successful on paper, but lost in my heart." Daniel listens carefully. "So what changed?" "One morning," Mr. Lee says, "I woke up and didn't want to go to work. I sat on my bed looking at the wall thinking, I have everything I wanted, but I feel nothing. That scared me. I realized I was living for noise, not meaning." He pauses, eyes soft with memory. "That day I promised myself something. I said, from now on, I will not start my day with the world's noise. I will start with silence." Daniel repeats quietly, "Start with silence." Mr. Lee nods. "Yes, silence helps you hear your own thoughts." From that silence, I began a small morning habit, just 10 minutes each day. At first, it felt strange, but slowly it became my strongest power. Daniel feels his curiosity grow. "What kind of habit?" Mr. Lee smiles. "Ah, not yet. You must first understand the lesson. Most people think success is something you do once, one big action, one lucky chance. But that's wrong. Success is not about what you do once. It's about what you do every day, even when no one is watching." He places his notebook on the table. The cover is simple, old, brown. "This little book," he says, "holds years of mornings. Thoughts, plans, mistakes, hopes. It is my mirror. Every page helped me see myself more clearly." Daniel leans forward. "So this notebook is your secret?" Mr. Lee laughs kindly. "No, my friend. The notebook is just a tool. The real secret is consistency, the small act that becomes part of you." Daniel looks thoughtful. "Consistency? But how do I stay consistent? I always start something new, but then I stop." Mr. Lee nods knowingly. because you focus on results, not rhythm. You think, I must change my life, instead of saying, I will change my morning. Big dreams scare the heart. Small actions build it. Those words hit Daniel deeply. Change my morning, not my life. He feels like he is hearing truth for the first time. Mr. Lee continues, when I started my small habit, I didn't feel any magic. But after 1 week, I felt calmer. After 1 month, I became more focused. After 1 year, I became a different man. I still made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I built peace. One quiet morning at a time, Daniel looks at Mr. Lee's face. There are soft lines near his eyes, but his smile looks strong. He has the calm of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. Daniel says, I want that peace too. I want to stop feeling lost. Mr. Lee nods slowly. Then you must start before the world wakes up. You must give time to your mind before it gives time to others. Success begins when you lead your morning, not when the morning leads you. Daniel feels a spark inside him again. The same spark he felt when he first saw Mr. Lee in the cafe. Mr. Lee, he says softly, will you tell me your small habit? I really want to learn. Mr. Lee smiles, eyes kind and full of patience. You are not ready yet to understand it fully. But I can tell you this, it is simple, quiet, and powerful. It will not make you rich tomorrow, but it will make you strong forever. Daniel leans closer, his heart beating faster. Please, he says, just tell me what you do every day. Mr. Lee looks out of the window. The morning sun is rising now, painting gold on the cafe glass. He turns back to Daniel and says slowly, I have a small habit, a secret one. The words hang in the air like music. Daniel feels both excited and confused. A secret habit. What could it be? Meditation, reading, writing. Mr. Lee stands up, places a small bill on the table and says, come tomorrow at the same time. Bring nothing but an open mind. Daniel nods quickly. I'll be here. Mr. Lee smiles. Good. Because once you start, your mornings and your life will never be the same again. As Daniel walks home, the city feels alive around him. But inside he feels something new, a quiet hope. The man he just met is not special because of luck or money. He is special because he built himself through small daily choices. Daniel looks at the sky and whispers, a small habit, a secret one. Maybe this is what I've been searching for tomorrow. He will return to the cafe, and the secret will begin to unfold. Chapter 3, The Habit Revealed. The next morning, Daniel wakes before sunrise. The world outside is still half asleep. Soft light, quiet streets, and cool air moving through the window. His alarm rings at 6 a.m., and for the first time, he doesn't hit snooze. He remembers Mr. Lee's words. Come tomorrow at the same time. Bring nothing but an open mind. Daniel dresses quickly, grabs his notebook, and walks to the cafe. The doorbell rings again as he enters. Mr. Lee is already there, calm, smiling, tea in hand. Good morning, Daniel says, breathing a little fast from his walk. Good morning, Mr. Lee replies. You're early. That's a good sign, Daniel laughs softly. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about your words, about that secret habit. Mr. Lee gestures for him to sit. Then let's talk about it. They sit by the window where golden sunlight begins to touch the floor. The world outside feels peaceful. Cars moving slowly, people walking with sleepy eyes. Mr. Lee opens his notebook and says, This is what I call morning clarity. It is my secret habit, though really it should not be a secret at all. Daniel tilts his head. Morning clarity? Yes, Mr. Lee says softly. Every morning I spend 10 quiet minutes thinking, not about the world, not about my job, not about problems, but about myself. Daniel blinks. Just thinking? Mr. Lee smiles. Yes, thinking with purpose, listening to my thoughts before the world starts talking. He leans forward slightly and explains, most people wake up and run. They open their phones, check messages, scroll, compare, worry. They let the world enter before they enter themselves. That is why their days feel noisy, confused, and heavy. They live a reactive life, always responding, never leading. Daniel nods slowly. That sounds like me. Mr. Lee continues, but when you practice morning clarity, you start your day differently. You begin with intention. You give your mind direction before the world gives it distraction. That is the difference between a busy man and a focused one. He turns his notebook toward Daniel. Inside, Daniel sees simple handwriting. On each page, a small heading, Morning Clarity. Below it are 3 short lines. Mr. Lee points. Every morning I do only 3 things, nothing more. He raises one finger. First I breathe. Daniel looks curious. Just breathe? Yes, Mr. Lee says. Close your eyes, sit quietly, and take slow, deep breaths. Feel the air move in and out. It tells your mind, I am here. I am alive. You do this for 1 or 2 minutes. It clears the noise. He raises a second finger. Second, I think. I ask myself one question. What kind of person do I want to be today? Not what I must do, but who I must be. Calm, kind, focused, honest? This question centers me. It gives meaning to the day. Daniel nods thoughtfully. That feels different. Not goals, but values. Exactly, says Mr. Lee. Action without clarity is like running without direction. You move fast, but you go nowhere. Then he raises a third finger. Finally, I write. One simple line, one small goal for the day, something that helps me live the answer to my question. He opens his notebook to today's page. The words are simple. Morning clarity. I breathe. I choose calm. My goal, listen more than I speak. Daniel reads it quietly. The words look so small, almost too simple. That's it? He asks. Mr. Lee nods. That's it. 10 minutes. No noise, no phone, just you and your thoughts. Some days I write more, some days less, but I always begin here. Daniel feels amazed. It's so simple, and yet it sounds powerful. Mr. Lee smiles. Because power is never in the noise, it's in the pause. Morning clarity gives you a pause, a space to meet yourself before the world does. Daniel thinks about his usual mornings, the alarm ringing, the phone lighting up, the endless scrolling. He never paused. He never asked what kind of person he wanted to be. He just reacted to everything. Mr. Lee, he says quietly, I think I understand now. All this time I wanted to change my life, but I never stopped to understand it. That's the truth, Mr. Lee says gently. Clarity before action changes everything. When your mind is clear, even a small step feels powerful. But when your mind is cloudy, even a big step feels empty. Daniel writes down the steps in his own notebook. 1. Breathe. 2. Think. 3. Write one goal. He underlines them twice. So I just do this every morning? Yes, Mr. Lee says. For 10 minutes. That is your first promise to yourself. Don't try to be perfect. Just be consistent. Daniel nods, a mix of hope and doubt in his eyes. It sounds easy, but I know myself. I usually stop after 2 or 3 days. Mr. Lee's smile stays calm. Then don't focus on days. Focus on today. The next morning doesn't exist yet. Just begin, and begin again. He looks at Daniel kindly. You are planting a seed. The flower doesn't bloom tomorrow, but it will bloom one day. Trust the small act. Daniel looks at the quiet cafe around him. The smell of coffee, the sound of cups, the slow movement of sunlight. He feels something different this morning. Peace mixed with purpose. He says softly, All right, I'll try it. For 1 week, Mr. Lee nods. Good. 7 days of clarity, that's all I ask. No pressure, no perfection, just 10 quiet minutes. As Daniel stands to leave, Mr. Lee adds one last thing. Remember, Daniel, you don't control the whole day, but you can control how it begins. That is the secret. Daniel smiles. Morning clarity, he repeats. I'll start tomorrow. When he walks outside, the sun is bright, the city louder, but Daniel feels ready. Ready in a way he hasn't felt in years. Still, as he walks home, a small doubt whispers inside, What if I can't do it? What if I fail again? He shakes his head gently. No, he tells himself, not this time. This time I'll start small. That night he places his notebook beside his bed. The alarm is set for 6 a.m. He looks at the page one last time. Breathe, think, write one goal. He smiles to himself and whispers, Tomorrow I begin my morning clarity. Chapter 4. The First Attempt. The next morning, Daniel's alarm rings at 6 o'clock. The room is still dark and his bed feels warm and soft. He opens his eyes for a moment, then closes them again. 5 more minutes, he tells himself. When he wakes again, it's almost 8. The sun is already bright through the window. His phone is full of notifications. Daniel sighs. I failed already, he whispers. The notebook sits unopened on his desk, waiting. He rushes to work, drinks quick coffee, and scrolls on his phone while walking. The world feels noisy again. He tells himself, Tomorrow, I'll try again. But the next morning is the same. The alarm rings. He wakes halfway, and this time he doesn't even open his eyes. He turns off the sound, rolls over, and disappears into sleep. When he finally gets up, it's too late. He looks in the mirror, tired eyes, messy hair. I can't even wake up early, he says softly. Maybe I'm just not that kind of person. That day, Daniel moves through life with quiet frustration. He feels behind in everything. Late for the train, late for work, late for his own dreams. At lunch, he remembers Mr. Lee's calm voice. Just begin and begin again. Daniel closes his eyes for a moment and takes a deep breath, right there in the noisy cafeteria. All right, he thinks, I will begin again. That night before bed, he moves his phone away from the bedside table and places his notebook there instead. He writes on the first page, Tomorrow I will wake early. He smiles slightly, half hope, half doubt, and falls asleep. This time, when the alarm rings, something feels different. The sound still hurts his sleepy ears, but he doesn't turn it off. He sits up slowly. The room is cold, but quiet. The air smells fresh. He walks to the window, opens it a little, and feels the soft morning wind. It's peaceful, the kind of peace he didn't know he missed. He takes his notebook, sits down, and remembers Mr. Lee's 3 steps. Breathe, think, write. At first, it feels strange. His mind keeps shouting, Go back to bed, check your phone. But Daniel just breathes, slowly, deeply, again and again. Then he asks himself, What kind of person do I want to be today? The answer comes softly. I want to be calm. I don't want to complain. He opens his notebook and writes one small goal, morning clarity. I breathe. I choose calm. My goal. Today I will not complain. He looks at the words and smiles. They are simple, almost too simple, but they feel right. After 10 quiet minutes, he closes the notebook. The world outside is still waking up, but Daniel feels a small peace inside. For the first time, his day began with him, not his phone, not his job, not the noise. Later that morning, the bus is late. Normally, Daniel would sigh, look at his watch, and think, why always me? But this time, he remembers his goal. He takes a breath instead. At work, a coworker complains about the weather. Daniel almost joins, but then he smiles quietly and stays silent. He doesn't explain why, he just listens. By evening, something feels different. The day still has problems, but Daniel doesn't feel tired in the same way. It's like his mind is lighter. That night, he writes in his notebook again, I didn't complain today. I feel peaceful. Then he adds one more line. Maybe I can do this. The next few days are not perfect. Sometimes he wakes late again. Sometimes his thoughts are noisy. Sometimes he forgets to write his goal. But each time he comes back, he begins to understand something Mr. Lee said. Success doesn't come from perfection. It comes from returning, from showing up again and again, even when you fail. Every morning, Daniel breathes, thinks, and writes. Some mornings he feels inspired. Some mornings he feels nothing at all. But he still does it. One day as he walks to work, he realizes something. The city is the same, the people, the sounds, the bus stops. But he is not. He feels quieter inside, less angry, more focused. He remembers his first 2 days of failure, and now he smiles at them. They were a part of the process, not the end of it. He thinks about how strange it is, how such a small habit could change the feeling of a whole day. He used to wake up tired, already worried. Now he wakes with a small purpose. Just 10 minutes, but those minutes shape everything that follows. That evening he meets Mr. Lee again at the cafe. The mentor sees him and smiles. You look different, he says. Daniel laughs softly. Maybe a little. I still fail sometimes. Mr. Lee nods. That's good. Failing means you're trying. Only people who do nothing never fail. Daniel tells him about his first goal, not to complain, and how it changed his day. Mr. Lee listens carefully and then says, that's the power of awareness. Most people want to change the world, but they forget to change their reactions. You are learning to lead your mind before the world leads it. Daniel smiles. It feels small, but it matters. It always begins small, Mr. Lee says. The habit is not just about mornings. It's about who you are becoming. They sit in silence for a while, sipping tea. Daniel looks out the window where the sun begins to set. He feels something growing, not fast, not loud, but steady. When he goes home that night, he writes in his notebook again. Morning clarity. I breathe. I choose kindness. My goal. Be patient when things go wrong. Then he adds a final line. Success starts messy, but I'm learning to be okay with messy. He smiles as he closes the book. For the first time, he isn't chasing perfection. He's building consistency. As the lights go off, Daniel whispers to himself, I'm changing, not fast, but for real. And with that quiet thought, he falls asleep, ready for another sunrise. Chapter 5. The Change Within. 2 weeks passed, and Daniel could feel it. Something inside him had shifted. The mornings were still quiet, the city still busy, but his mind no longer felt like a storm. Every sunrise felt like a clean page. He woke before his alarm now. Sometimes he would lie still for a few seconds, listening to the world waking slowly, birds, wind, the soft hum of life outside. Then, as always, he would open his notebook. Morning clarity. I breathe. I choose focus, my goal, finish one task before starting another. He smiled as he wrote. It was simple, but it worked. Before, Daniel used to rush from one thing to another. His thoughts were always racing. What's next? What am I missing? Why am I so behind? But now he finished one thing at a time. He didn't hurry. He just moved with calm focus. At work, his coworkers noticed. Daniel, you seem different lately, said Maya, a colleague who sat beside him. You're quieter, but stronger somehow. Daniel laughed. Stronger? Me? She smiled. Yes. Before you were always rushing. You looked tired. Now you look calm. Even when things go wrong, you don't panic. He nodded. Maybe I just stopped fighting the day. Maya tilted her head. What does that mean? He thought for a moment, then said softly, It means I start my day before it starts me. She didn't fully understand, but she could see the peace in his eyes. Later that day, Daniel finished his work earlier than usual. His desk was clear, his mind clear too. He walked home slowly, feeling light. On the way, he passed the park, the same park he used to rush through. This time he sat on a bench. The evening sun touched the trees, turning everything gold. For a long moment he just breathed. Inside, a quiet thought rose. I don't feel lost anymore. I feel in control. He smiled, not because life was perfect, but because he finally understood something. Control doesn't come from power, it comes from peace. That night he met his old friend David for dinner. It had been months since they'd seen each other. Hey man, David said, slapping his shoulder. You look good. What's going on? New job? New girlfriend? Daniel laughed. No, same job. Same everything. David looked at him closely. Then what happened to you? You're glowing or something. Daniel smiled shyly. Maybe I just started listening to myself in the mornings. David blinked. Listening to yourself. What do you mean? It's hard to explain, Daniel said. I spent a few minutes every morning just breathing, thinking, and writing one goal. That's all. David chuckled. That's it? You changed from 10 minutes of thinking? Daniel nodded. It sounds small. But somehow it changes everything. David raised his eyebrows. I need that kind of magic. Daniel laughed again. It's not magic. It's attention. When I give myself 10 quiet minutes, the rest of my day listens to me. That night, as Daniel walked home under the moonlight, he felt proud, not of what he had done, but of what he had become. 2 weeks ago, he was confused, tired, and lost. Now he felt peaceful, focused, and alive. The difference wasn't luck or money or talent. It was something smaller, something inside. He opened his notebook when he got home. The pages were filling up now, one by one, each page holding 10 minutes of thought, 10 minutes of clarity. He ran his fingers over the words, smiling softly. Then he wrote, Morning clarity. I breathe. I choose gratitude. My goal, thank one person today. The next morning, Daniel saw the cleaning lady in his office, the same woman who always worked quietly, unnoticed. He smiled and said, Thank you for keeping this place clean every day. She looked surprised, then smiled back. You're welcome, sir. Nobody ever says that Daniel felt something warm in his chest. A simple thank you, such a small act, yet it felt like light spreading through his day. All day long he carried that same warmth. He noticed small things, the sound of laughter in the hallway, the smell of coffee, the kindness in people's eyes. It was like life had new colors now. He thought back to his first 2 mornings of failure, sleeping late, feeling hopeless. He smiled at how far he had come. This is what change feels like, he thought. It's quiet, it's gentle, but it's real. That evening, he went to see Mr. Lee again. The cafe was the same. The smell of tea, the sound of the little bell when the door opened. Mr. Lee looked up and smiled. "Ah, Daniel, you look well." "I feel well," Daniel said. "It's strange, though. I didn't expect such a small habit to make such a big difference." Mr. Lee gestured for him to sit. "Tell me." Daniel told him everything: the calm mornings, the finished work, the kind words, the quiet joy. He ended with a question. How can something so small change so much? Mr. Lee nodded slowly. "That is the secret most people never see," he said. "Big results come from small roots. Morning clarity doesn't change your day, it changes you. And when you change, your whole world follows." Daniel listened, his heart full. "So it's not really about success," he said softly. "It's about awareness." "Yes," Mr. Lee said. "When your mind is clear, your actions are clean. And when your actions are clean, success becomes natural, not forced." Daniel leaned back, thinking deeply. The truth was simple, but powerful. Success was not a race, it was a rhythm. And for the first time in his life, he was moving in rhythm with himself. As he left the cafe that evening, he looked up at the sky. Quiet, wide, endless. He smiled. "Small habit," he whispered. "Big change." He didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Chapter 6: The Power of Consistency. The next morning, Daniel arrives at the cafe, notebook in hand, ready to share his experiences with Mr. Lee. He has practiced morning clarity every day for weeks now. Some days were easier, some days were hard, but the habit is slowly taking root. Mr. Lee looks at him and smiles. "You have learned the first lesson," he says gently. "But there is something more important than just starting." "Do you know what that is?" Daniel thinks for a moment. "Finishing." "Not just finishing," Mr. Lee replies. "Consistency. Doing it every day. Not once, not twice, but every day, quietly, patiently. That is the power of consistency." Daniel nods slowly, but it feels so small. 10 minutes, every morning. Can it really make a difference? Mr. Lee pours tea into 2 cups. "Let me tell you a story." He sets his cup down and begins. "There is a river. Not a big, powerful river, just a small one. But it flows every day, every hour, every second. Over years, it cuts through stone. Not because it is strong, but because it never stops. Persistence is stronger than power. This is the secret of life. Small efforts, repeated over time, shape everything." Daniel leans forward, listening closely. "So it's not about doing a lot at once." "Exactly," Mr. Lee says. "Most people wait for a big moment, a big idea, a big energy. They think, tomorrow I will start. Tomorrow I will be ready." But the river does not wait for perfect days. It just flows. That is why it can move mountains. Slowly, quietly, persistently, Daniel thinks about himself. His first 2 mornings of failure come to mind. The days he overslept, felt tired, or gave up. He smiles softly. "So my failures, they are okay?" "More than okay," Mr. Lee replies. "They are lessons. The key is to keep going, even when you fail, even when it feels small, even when no one notices. Success grows in silence." Daniel writes the sentence in his notebook. Success grows in silence. He reads it aloud softly. The words feel strong. Mr. Lee continues. "Many people start with excitement. They try to change everything at once. They work hard for one day, then stop. Others see them and think, why can't I be like that? but big bursts of energy fade quickly. Only steady rhythm builds lasting change. Daniel nods, understanding. So the river is like the habit. Not one day, but every day. Yes, Mr. Lee says. Morning clarity is your river. 10 minutes may seem small, but repeated every day, it shapes your mind, your choices, and your life. The small things become the big things. Daniel writes that down too. The small things become the big things. He smiles. The simplicity of it amazes him. He had been chasing big ideas, big success, big change, but the real work is quiet, consistent, small, and daily. Mr. Lee leans back, looking at Daniel kindly. Think about a tree. A tree does not grow to 10 meters in a day. It grows slowly, from a seed, day by day, root by root, leaf by leaf. At first you see nothing, but after years it becomes strong, unshakable. Your mind works the same way Daniel imagines it. His mind is a tree growing stronger every morning. Each 10-minute habit a root, each reflection a leaf, each goal a branch. Slowly, quietly, it grows into something real and lasting. Consistency is not about instant results, Mr. Lee continues. It's about building yourself. Every day you are shaping your habits, your thoughts, and your actions. And eventually, years later, you will look back and see a completely different life, Daniel writes again. One day I will look back and see how far I've come. Mr. Lee smiles. Yes, the trick is patience and persistence. The river does not rush, the tree does not hurry, and neither should you. Just flow every day quietly. With intention, Daniel feels a quiet strength growing in his chest. He thinks about the months ahead. If he continues morning clarity for 1 year, 10 minutes every day, what could happen? His mind, his habits, his attitude, all would shift. He could finally feel in control of his life. You see, Daniel, Mr. Lee says, success is not about one great action. It is about small actions, repeated, quietly, consistently. No one may see it at first, but the effects are unstoppable. Daniel nods, inspired. So I don't need to be perfect. I just need to show up every day. Yes, Mr. Lee says, consistency is your real power. If you keep your habit for a year, your life will look different. Not because of magic, but because of your steady, patient effort. Remember these words: success grows in silence. Daniel smiles again and writes them in bold letters in his notebook. Success grows in silence. He repeats them quietly. Success grows in silence. And, Mr. Lee adds, the small things become the big things. Every day the river flows. Every day the tree grows. Every day you shape your life. Daniel looks out the window, watching the morning sunlight fall on the street. The city is busy, people rushing, cars moving, noise everywhere. But inside he feels calm, focused, and strong. He whispers softly to himself, 1 year, just 1 year. 10 minutes every morning. My life could really change. Mr. Lee smiles at him. Yes, Daniel. Keep flowing, even when you feel tired. Keep planting, even when it feels small. And one day you will see what you have built, quietly, persistently, patiently. Daniel nods, a new determination in his heart. The secret is not the habit alone. It is the power of doing it every day. No shortcuts, no magic, just consistency. He packs his notebook and leaves the cafe, walking slowly through the city streets. The world is loud, but his mind is quiet. The river of his mornings is flowing, shaping his life silently, one day at a time. And for the first time, Daniel truly believes in the power of patience, persistence, and daily practice. Chapter 7. Facing the Storm. 2 months had passed since Daniel began morning clarity. Life had been quiet, steady, and filled with small victories. He felt calm, focused, and more confident. But life, as always, had a way of testing him. One Monday morning, Daniel's phone buzzed with urgent messages. His boss had assigned a new project, one that seemed impossible to finish on time. His coworkers were stressed, deadlines were tight, and the pressure pressed down on him like a heavy weight. Daniel felt a familiar panic rising inside. This is too much. I can't handle it. Maybe I should forget this morning clarity thing. I don't have time for 10 minutes of quiet when everything is falling apart. He almost hit the snooze button that morning, and the next morning he did. He overslept. By the third day, he had missed 2 mornings entirely. His notebook lay closed on the desk, untouched, while his mind filled with frustration. He sat at his kitchen table, head in his hands. Maybe it doesn't work, he muttered. Maybe I'm just wasting my time. Everyone else is moving, and I'm here doing nothing. Old habits, old weaknesses, threatened to take him back to the life he had before, rushing, complaining, feeling lost. For a moment he felt small, defeated, and tired. That evening, Daniel's phone pinged with a message from Mr. Lee. Even rivers face storms. Flow again, Daniel stared at the screen. The words were short, simple, but they struck him like a bell. He remembered the stories of persistence, the river cutting stone, the tree growing slowly. The words echoed in his mind. Even rivers face storms. He opened his notebook and read the lines he had written weeks ago. Success grows in silence. The small things become the big things. Daniel breathed deeply. He realized something. Missing a day didn't erase the habit. It didn't erase the growth he had already made. It was only a test. The next morning, Daniel woke before sunrise. The wind rattled the window and the sky was gray. His body wanted to stay in bed, to ignore the habit. But his mind remembered the river. Slowly, deliberately, he got up. He poured a cup of tea, sat at the table, and opened his notebook. For 10 minutes, he breathed deeply, letting the tension of the past days flow out with each exhale. Then he thought quietly, who do I want to be today? He realized he wanted to be patient, strong, and focused, the same person he had been becoming all these weeks. He wrote a small goal for the day. Morning clarity, I breathe. I choose calm. My goal, finish one step at a time. It felt strange, almost powerless compared to the huge tasks ahead. But Daniel kept breathing, kept thinking, kept writing. For the first time, he felt that even in the storm he could find a center of peace. The day was hard. The project at work was complicated. His team argued, mistakes happened, and deadlines loomed. He felt the old panic creeping in. But he paused. He remembered his goal, finish one step at a time. Instead of rushing, he focused on the first task, then the next, then the next. Each small step brought relief, not exhaustion. By the afternoon, he had finished half of the project, enough to keep the team moving forward. When he sat back in his chair, Daniel realized something. The habit wasn't magic, but it was his anchor. It didn't stop the storm, but it helped him face it without sinking. That evening, he opened his notebook and wrote, "Even in the storm, I can find my center." He smiled softly. The storm hadn't broken him. In fact, it had shown him how strong he had become. Over the next few days, Daniel continued to face challenges, deadlines, disagreements, unexpected problems. Each morning, he returned to his 10 minutes of clarity. He noticed that missing a day no longer made him panic. He returned easily, without guilt. His inner dialogue changed. I can face this. I may feel pressure, but I am calm. I may make mistakes, but I will keep moving. One evening, his friend David noticed the change. Daniel, you're handling everything differently. Before, you would have been stressed out of your mind. Now, you're calm. What happened? Daniel smiled. I'm learning to face the storm differently. I've been practicing something small every morning. 10 minutes, just for me. David raised his eyebrows. 10 minutes? That's it? Yes, Daniel said. But it's not about 10 minutes. It's about doing it every day, even when it's hard, even when I fail. That's how it works. That night, Daniel thought about Mr. Lee's words again. Even rivers face storms, flow again. He realized that the storm had tested him, but it had not destroyed him. It had strengthened him. He closed his notebook with a quiet confidence. The storm would come again. It always does. But now he had a habit, a rhythm, and a small power inside him that no pressure could take away. As he lay in bed, he whispered to himself, "Discipline is tested in dark days, and I can face it." For the first time, Daniel did not fear failure. He understood that true strength is not measured when everything is easy, but when life pushes back and you return to your center anyway. That night he slept deeply, ready to meet the next day. The storm had not ended, but he was no longer afraid. Chapter 8: The Transformation. Months passed, and Daniel could hardly recognize the person he had been before. The mornings that once felt impossible now felt natural. 10 minutes of clarity had become part of his life, a quiet ritual that shaped his thoughts, actions, and feelings. His room was cleaner, his schedule more organized, and his mind less crowded. Where he once rushed from task to task, he now moved with focus and calm. He noticed small details, the sound of birds outside the window, the way sunlight hit the desk, the subtle smiles of coworkers he had never noticed before. At work, the change was clear to everyone. Daniel finished tasks efficiently, offered help to colleagues, and handled pressure with calm confidence. His team began to rely on him, not just for results, but for his steady presence. One afternoon, his boss called him into the office. "Daniel," she said with a warm smile, "your work has improved dramatically. You're organized, proactive, and dependable. We want to promote you to team lead." Daniel felt a rush of pride, but it was not the same as the pride he felt months ago, when he woke before sunrise and completed his morning clarity. That small, quiet habit had transformed him from inside out. He realized that the promotion, the praise, the visible results, they were only part of the story. The real change had been within. He was more patient when problems arose, more positive when things went wrong, and more confident in his own abilities. The chaos that once ruled his life had been replaced by quiet strength. Daniel also noticed how his relationships had improved. Friends and co-workers were drawn to his calm energy. They asked him questions, seeking advice. One friend said, "Daniel, you seem so different now. You're peaceful even when everything is stressful. What's your secret?" Daniel smiled and shared simply, "I started a small habit, 10 minutes every morning to breathe, think, and write one goal. It changed my mornings, and slowly it changed everything else." Some friends laughed at first, thinking it was too simple, but others tried it. Slowly, a few began to notice small differences in themselves too. Daniel felt proud, not just for himself, but for helping others discover something so simple yet powerful. He thought back to the Daniel of 2 months ago, rushing, panicking, and overwhelmed. That person seemed like a stranger. Now he felt connected to himself in a way he had never felt before. He didn't just perform tasks or meet deadlines, he lived with awareness. The mornings that once caused dread now gave him a sense of control. He could handle stress calmly, approach problems with clarity, and even enjoy quiet moments alone. Where he had once felt lost, he now felt grounded. One evening, after another successful day, Daniel sat quietly in his room and opened his notebook. He read the pages filled over the past months, simple goals, reflections, and insights. He smiled as he noticed patterns, small goals building into larger habits, small thoughts creating big changes. He wrote a new line. Morning clarity is not just a habit, it is who I am becoming. Daniel realized that real success was not the promotion, the grades, or the recognition. It was the transformation he had undergone. He had learned discipline, patience, focus, and self-awareness. These were lessons that no external reward could replace. The next day, Daniel decided to visit Mr. Lee. He wanted to thank him for the guidance, the wisdom, and the habit that had transformed his life. The cafe felt familiar and comforting. Mr. Lee was there, as always, sitting with his tea. "Mr. Lee," Daniel said, sitting down, "I wanted to thank you. I don't know how to explain it, but everything has changed. Not just my work or my studies, but me. I feel like a different person." Mr. Lee smiled, calm and gentle. "I am glad, Daniel. You did not just follow the habit, you learned the principle behind it. That is the real transformation, becoming someone who shapes your life from the inside out." Daniel nodded. "It's strange. The habit was so small, but it changed everything. And now I even help my friends start it. I want them to feel what I feel." "That is how change spreads," Mr. Lee said. "Not through force or advice, but through example. The small, consistent actions of one person can inspire many. You are proof that transformation begins with a simple choice and the courage to keep it." Daniel looked at him thoughtfully. "I used to think success was about results. Now I see it as about who you become along the way." "Yes," Mr. Lee said. "The world will give you rewards, but only if your inner world is ready. Build yourself first, quietly and consistently. The rest will follow." Daniel felt a deep sense of gratitude. He realized that the habit was not just about 10 minutes each morning. It was about building discipline, clarity, and self-trust. It was about learning to respond to life instead of reacting. As he left the cafe that evening, Daniel walked slowly, feeling the weight of his old chaos lift completely. The streets, the city, the noise, they were the same as before, but he had changed. He carried a calm, steady energy that no external problem could shake. He thought about the months of practice, the early mornings, the doubts, the missed days, the storms. Each moment had been part of the transformation. He smiled and whispered to himself, "Small habit, big life." That night, he wrote one last line in his notebook for the week. "I am proud of who I am becoming." For Daniel, the journey was no longer about rushing, comparing, or chasing results. It was about showing up, consistently, every day, and letting small actions build a stronger, calmer, and more capable self. And in that quiet realization, he felt the deepest satisfaction, not for what he had achieved, but for who he had become. Chapter 9. The Mentor's Final Lesson. Daniel visited Mr. Lee again, carrying his notebook filled with months of reflections and small victories. The cafe smelled warm and familiar, with the soft clink of cups and the quiet murmur of conversation. He felt a mix of gratitude and curiosity. He wanted to understand the deeper lesson behind everything he had learned. Mr. Lee greeted him with a calm smile. "Ah, Daniel, you look well. How is your habit growing?" Daniel sat down and opened his notebook. "It's changed my life, Mr. Lee. I feel calmer, stronger, more in control. I handle problems differently. Even my friends notice the difference. But I want to understand more. Why does this small habit work so well?" Mr. Lee leaned back, eyes gentle but focused. "Let me tell you something important. The habit itself is only a tool. The true power lies in awareness. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, rush, worry, and react. They never stop to know themselves, to understand their thoughts, to shape their day before the world shapes it for them." Daniel nodded slowly, remembering all the mornings he had spent rushing, checking his phone, feeling lost before he began morning clarity. So it's not just the habit itself, it's the awareness it creates. "Yes," Mr. Lee said. "When you spend those 10 minutes breathing, thinking, and writing, you connect with yourself. You understand your mind, your goals, your fears. You start the day awake instead of asleep." That is the real secret. Daniel thought about the difference. In the past, he had followed instructions, done tasks, and reacted to events. Now he noticed his thoughts before they controlled him. He planned before he panicked. He acted before the chaos took over. He felt alive and intentional. Mr. Lee continued, "Most people believe successful people are born different, smarter, luckier, or more talented. But the truth is, they are not. They simply build themselves daily. They create small, consistent habits that shape their minds, their emotions, and their choices. Over time, these small actions become powerful forces in their lives." Daniel smiled. He could see it clearly now. The quiet mornings, the patience, the calm steps through challenges, all of it had built him from the inside out. And he understood why Mr. Lee had insisted on the 10 minutes. It was not about instant results. It was about creating a steady foundation for life. Mr. Lee leaned forward slightly, his voice soft but firm. "You have learned well, Daniel. But there is one more lesson. Do not keep this knowledge only to yourself. Share it, teach it, inspire others. Every person who learns awareness and builds themselves can change the world quietly, one life at a time." Daniel nodded. He remembered the friends who had already tried the habit and started noticing small changes. He thought about his colleagues, his family, and even strangers who might benefit from this simple practice. "I will," he said. "I want to help others start, just like you helped me." Mr. Lee smiled warmly. "Good. Remember, the habit is simple, but the effect is profound. You do not need perfection. You do not need motivation every day. You need presence, awareness, 10 minutes to know yourself before the world demands everything else." Daniel closed his notebook, feeling a quiet sense of completion. The journey had taught him more than he could have imagined. He was no longer the restless, frustrated person from 2 months ago. He had learned patience, focus, and self-trust. He reflected on Mr. Lee's words about living awake versus living on autopilot. In the past, Daniel had reacted to life. Now he responded thoughtfully. Where he had once felt controlled by events, he now felt in control of himself. Where he had once been exhausted by small problems, he now handled them with calm confidence. It feels strange, Daniel said aloud. Something so small, 10 minutes every morning, could shape my whole life. That is the point, Mr. Lee said. Big results come from small, consistent actions. Awareness grows quietly. Success is not about speed or force. It is about clarity and intention. You have seen it in yourself. Never forget it. Daniel took a deep breath. He felt a deep gratitude for Mr. Lee's guidance, but also for his own courage to keep returning even when it was difficult. The habit had not only given him calm and focus, but had also shown him the value of patience and persistence. I understand now, Daniel said. Success is not about results first. It's about building myself every day, quietly, consistently. And then everything else follows exactly, Mr. Lee replied. And when you share this with others, you multiply the effect. One small habit can ripple into many lives. That is the real power. Awareness, persistence, and generosity of knowledge. Daniel nodded, feeling a new purpose. He thought of all the people who rushed through life, overwhelmed and exhausted, never pausing to reflect or set a small goal. He imagined them discovering this habit, even for 10 minutes a day, and the quiet power it could give them. As he stood to leave, Daniel thanked Mr. Lee sincerely. I will not forget this, and I will share it with others so they can see what I have seen. Mr. Lee smiled and waved. Good. Always remember, successful people are not born different. They build themselves daily. 10 minutes, one goal, awareness. That is all it takes. Daniel stepped outside into the soft afternoon light. The world seemed the same. Busy streets, honking cars, people rushing. But he knew the truth. He was no longer the same. He had learned the secret of living awake. He had built the inner strength to navigate life with clarity, calm, and focus. He whispered to himself, "It's not about success. It's about awareness. 10 minutes every morning. I can live my day with power." For the first time, Daniel felt a quiet, confident certainty. He had learned the secret habit. Not to chase results, but to know himself, to live fully, and to act with intention. And now he was ready to share it with the world. Chapter 10. The Secret You Can Start Today. Welcome, friends. Today you have followed Daniel's journey, from restless, lost mornings to calm, focused days filled with purpose. His story is not just a story about one man, it is a story about you, about anyone who has ever felt stuck, tired, or unsure how to move forward. And it comes with a powerful lesson. The secret habit that changes life is small, simple, and possible for everyone. Let's look back. Daniel was once like many of us. He woke late, scrolled his phone, rushed through his day, and felt empty by evening. Every day seemed to slip away without meaning. He compared himself to others and thought he was falling behind. He dreamed big but acted small. That is a feeling we all know, of wanting more but not knowing where to start. Then came Mr. Lee, the calm mentor who showed Daniel that success is not about talent, money, or lucky opportunities. It is about one small habit, morning clarity. 10 minutes every morning spent thinking, breathing, and writing one small goal. Simple, short, easy to start. But consistent practice made all the difference. Daniel tried the habit, and yes, the first days were hard. He overslept, he doubted himself, he wanted to quit. But he returned. That is the first key lesson for you. Small habits do not need perfection. They need persistence. You do not have to be perfect to change your life. You only need to show up. When Daniel continued, he noticed subtle changes. He became calmer. He handled stress better. His friends and colleagues noticed his new energy. His work improved, but more importantly, he felt proud of himself. The chaos inside him turned into quiet strength. This is the second lesson. Small inner changes create big outer results. Your life can shift when your mind shifts first. But the real transformation came during the storm, when Daniel faced challenges, pressure, and difficult days. He missed mornings. He questioned himself. He thought the habit was not working. And yet when he returned, he realized that discipline is tested most during hard days. The habit helped him handle failure, stress, and chaos differently. Consistency is what makes small efforts powerful over time. The river does not cut stone in a single day. It flows quietly, patiently every day. That is the third lesson. Success grows in silence. Months later, Daniel had transformed completely. He was organized, positive, patient, and confident. He experienced tangible success, like a promotion and recognition, but the real victory was inside. He had learned to control his thoughts, manage his emotions, and take small, intentional actions every day. The journey taught him that success is not just results, it is who you become while building the habit. That is the fourth lesson. Real success is daily growth. Finally, Mr. Lee shared his last wisdom. The secret habit is not about success. It's about awareness. When you know yourself each morning, you live your day with power. Think about this. Most people live on autopilot, reacting, rushing, and feeling exhausted. But when you wake with awareness, you control your day instead of letting it control you. You start with clarity, you act with purpose, and slowly your life transforms. This is the fifth lesson. Awareness is the foundation of all change. So, what does this mean for you? It means that you do not need a new life to succeed. You do not need a perfect plan, a huge opportunity, or endless energy. You need one small, simple habit. 10 minutes in the morning, just for you. Breathe. Think. Write one small goal. Begin where you are. Repeat every day. That is the power of the secret habit. Here is how you can start today. 1. Wake a little earlier than usual. Even 5 minutes extra works. 2. Sit quietly. Breathe slowly. Focus on your thoughts, not distractions. 3. Write one small goal for the day. It could be as simple as, I will stay calm, or I will finish one task before starting another. 4. Repeat daily, even when it feels hard. If you miss a day, start again the next morning. Consistency matters more than perfection. This habit is also a tool for English learners. As you practice, you can think in English, write your goal in English, and speak your thoughts aloud. It is a gentle, practical way to improve your vocabulary, grammar, and confidence, while also building focus and calm. You are learning both language and life skills at the same time. Imagine your life 1 month from now if you start today, 10 minutes each morning, every day. You will feel calmer, you will handle challenges better, you will finish tasks more efficiently, you will notice small successes and they will grow into bigger ones. Your confidence will rise and your mind will feel sharper. You may even inspire others, just as Daniel inspired his friends. Contrast this with your life before. Yesterday, maybe you felt confused, rushed, or tired. Maybe you wanted change but didn't know where to start. Today, you can take control. You can wake with awareness, and your actions will follow. Small steps, repeated daily, become unstoppable. Remember Daniel's words: small habit, big life. They are simple but true. You do not need a new life. You just need a new habit. 10 minutes every morning. That is all it takes to start transforming your day, your mind, and your life. You can start now. Take a moment tomorrow morning, or even today if you can. Sit quietly, breathe, write one goal, and notice how it feels. Notice the difference between rushing and choosing, between reacting and responding, between confusion and clarity. Each day builds on the last, and in time, your life will reflect the care you give to these small moments. And as you continue, remember the motivational truths Daniel discovered. Success grows in silence. The small things become the big things. Even rivers face storms, flow again. Morning clarity is not just a habit, it is who you are becoming. Repeat these to yourself. Let them guide you. Let them inspire you to speak, think, and live better, not just in English, but in every part of your life. Friends, the secret is simple. The secret is within you. You do not need magic, big energy, or talent. You need attention, presence, and consistency. You need 10 minutes every morning to know yourself and shape your day with awareness. Imagine how different your tomorrow could be if you start today. Imagine the confidence, the calm, the clarity you could carry into every task, every conversation, every challenge. It is possible, it is simple, and it is yours to begin. So, start small. Be consistent. Think clearly. Grow daily. Let Daniel's journey be your mirror, showing that the power of transformation is in your hands. A new habit is the key. Your life does not need to change all at once. Just change your mornings and the rest will follow. And now, my friends, it is your turn. Begin your secret habit today. Spend 10 minutes with yourself. Breathe, reflect, and write your goal. Let it grow into clarity, confidence, and calm. Let it guide your English, your thoughts, and your actions. Remember, you don't need a new life. You just need a new habit. Start today, be patient, be consistent, and watch the small habit transform your world,